Vivienne Westwood is one of my favorite fashion designers, and Pokemon is one of my favorite game series. Now, Pokemon have collabed with fashion brands before to varying degrees of success. But what would it look like if they collab with Vivienne Westwood? I think the best place to start with this crossover is the iconic Vivienne Westwood orb. Now, I have a fat list of ideas for different Pokemon variants here, but I think the most obvious one to start off with has just got to be the good old classic Pokeball, right? After recreating the logo myself to use as a template, to turn this into a Pokeball, all we've got to do is remove a few of the lines up top, fix the middle up a little bit, and add some color. This orb was made to be a Pokeball. Now, of course, Pokeballs are spherical, but if only there was some round, dare I say, circular Pokemon too. Then we can make an entire collection of custom orbs. The first Pokemon that came to mind was Voltorb, but that's a bit too easy, so the first Pokemon that we're actually going to make is Cosmoem. I wanted to do them first because you can break them apart really easily. The color on their round face can go in the round center, the surrounding purple can be used all around it, and instead of the cross on top, we can put something from his evolution Lunala, since his head works perfectly as a decoration. And the main reason I chose Cosmoem: custom rings. It already has one ring wrapping around it from the template, but if you duplicate it and rotate it to replicate Cosmoem's design, look how sick this is. And you know what's even cooler than a 1,000-kilogram legendary pre-evolution that can evolve into 2 different other legendaries? Keys! I wanted to pick Pokemon where I could work in a unique orb, ring, and cross, and Klefki surprisingly ticks it off better than most Pokemon. Keeping as much as I could from the template, I started working on Klefki's face. The keyhole fits into the middle here so perfectly, I actually couldn't believe it. Next, we added a little dangly bit down below and put in some more color before it was time to work on the keys. Since I'm not perfectly replicating Klefki anyway, I figured it would be best to just take the general shape of the keys and work them into the style of the orb, because I didn't really want to overcomplicate the design. And speaking of keys, we kept the bottom of the cross but turned the top into another key, and just like that, the Klefki orb was completed. Now I wanted to make all these orbs as different as possible, so it's time to start taking liberties with what counts as a circle. Gears move in a circular motion, let's do Cling Clang. This was another one of my first ideas just because of how perfectly you could alter every single bit of the template, like the ring, add some spikes, the center, add a gear, the dots, change into X's. We're not even halfway done here and this already works way too well. I feel like it only makes sense to turn the cross into another gear. They've both got shapes sticking out. This is basically the same thing. And if that wasn't enough gear action for you gearheads, then why don't we change the shape of the actual orb itself? This is Cling Clang after all. We're not going to get the chance to do this with somebody cringe and perfectly round like Electrode. After lots and lots and lots of finessing because I had way too many overlapping layers and a couple of final touch-ups to the face, here we have the Vivienne Westwood Cling Clang orb. At this point, I started thinking of what I wanted to actually do with all the orbs when they were finished, and as much as I really wanted to animate them, I also really wanted to finish that project this year, so I figured a decent compromise would be to display them all in a nice, super sleek poster. If you want to see them animated though, you might as well subscribe just in case I get around to it eventually. Anyway, after settling on making a poster, I started brainstorming layouts and figured that we needed at least 12 orbs so we can make a nice 3x4 grid out of them. So then I started thinking, what would look good in a row of 3? And went back to the original Pokeball design to whip up some Great Ball and Ultra Ball variants. For the next batch of 3, I thought, what about Pokemon with really unique rings? Hooper has a lot of rings, but not very unique ones. Volcanion has a pretty unique ring, but nobody likes Volcanion, so I started thinking outside the box. Deoxys has some pretty malleable arms. The double helix would work perfectly wrapped around the orb. This took a little while to get the perfect shape right, but when I got it done, I knew this would be one of my absolute favorite orbs. Since we're only changing the ring for this one, all we had left to do was fix up the colors and make the little purple dot pattern for the line on its face. Look how sick this is. Deoxys is actually such a cool Pokemon, man. It might be one of my favorites. Now, who's the next contender for Pokemon with a really cool ring? I mean, it's gotta be Arceus, right? I'm also now realizing just how many legendaries we've done so far. I guess since most of the designs are a bit more complex, it just gives us a bit more to work with. At first, we just had the spikes coming out at the front, but after looking at it, it felt a bit underwhelming. So we added in a bunch of new anchor points to help roughen up and crease the ring. It's not my favorite out of the collection, but I don't think it's fair to compare Arceus to the godly power known as Klefki. Now, it was actually kind of tough picking out a Pokemon that had a really unique ring, but then I went down 5 entries in the Pokedex down from Arceus and found our next inspiration, Cresselia. Cresselia was literally made for this. Everything from the ring shapes to the shades of pink just worked perfectly. Shouts out to Cresselia for real. Alright, that's all of our solo custom ring all wrapped up, leaving us with only 3 left to make. Since we focused on rings for the last 3, I think it only makes sense to get a bunch of cool custom crosses for the final batch. I swear I spent so long looking through the entire Pokedex searching for a Pokemon that had some kind of 3-pointed something on it, but I think I picked out a pretty decent selection. First up is Jirachi, and I swear this is the last legendary Pokemon, but it just worked too well not to use. I mean, look at his pointy little head. And look how well his pointy little head works to the orb. I'll admit it was a bit finicky getting the middle ribbon to stand out properly, but man, am I really happy that I picked out Jirachi. Now, I plan to leave it there and only mess with the cross, but it would feel like such a missed opportunity if I didn't make this circle here into its massive stomach eye, so it just had to be done. And while we're adding more than we planned, we might as well make the ring all nice and flowy, just like Jirachi's cape. And I gotta say, this might be another one of my absolute favorites. Now, if you've seen any of my videos before, then you know that I love highlighting Pokemon that never really get any love. And I guess I've kind of done that already with some of these, but we needed at least one more outsider, so I picked out none other than the prickly ball himself, Cacnea. One of the main reasons I picked them was because of their mouth. Look familiar? This is just another Pokemon that was made to be turned into a Vivienne Westwood orb. Since Cacnea had a little crown on his head, I thought that would work quite nicely as a unique cross piece. And you can't have a cactus orb without spikes, so we put them all around the ring and even slapped a few on the orb itself. We fixed up the crown because it just kind of looked awful, and would you look at that, the penultimate orb was completed. I'm very happy that a Pokemon like Cacnea can be in the same collection as a Pokemon like Arceus and still hold its own. Now, the final orb. I wanted a bit of color for this one since quite a few of them have been gray, and I wanted a Pokemon that can make for an iconic cross placement at the top. Who better to infiltrate this design than Rotom? Now, I know I've already given Rotom some attention on this channel before, but until more Pokemon get alternate fridge forms, I'm afraid Rotom is just too iconic not to use. If I've missed a Pokemon that would have worked really well here though, let me know in the comments and we might have to make a part 2. Rotom's color scheme is so nice to work with, and the silhouette fits into the space at the top so nicely. I thought about adding the little highlights from the plasma into the ring here, but I felt a little bit too out of place for the style, so instead I ended up adding some little spikes on either side just like Rotom has. A few hours of planning and even more hours of designing later, and the orb collection was completed. Only thing left to do now is to show them all off together. I set up a grid and very meticulously lined everything up before starting to mess around with different compositions and layouts. I honestly really liked how sleek they all look when lined up in a 3x4 grid, so I kept messing around with ways to make the surrounding page look interesting. And a few versions later, introducing the Vivienne Westwood Orb Collection, Summer 2024. You see, by changing Westwood to Westwood, we not only get a fun little play on words, but we also make it legally distinct enough to fall under fair use and parody law. Also, Vivienne Westwood is a fashion brand. I had to put these designs on some clothes. The designs are so versatile that you could honestly swap out any of the orbs in any of the scenarios and get a totally different design. If the Pokemon Company and Vivienne Westwood actually linked up, this would literally print money. Speaking of which, do you guys like art prints? Honestly, I just thought this was way too cool not to make a real thing, so I put a few up on the Aura shop. Oh, and we also have 2 sticker sheets. Look at this. I couldn't fit them all in a single sheet, but you can get one with 6 of them here and another 6 here. I think they're all pretty damn cool, I can't lie. They're nice and glossy. You can put them on your phone, put them on your laptop, put them on your Switch, put them anywhere. I've got about 20 of each sticker sheet and about 25 prints, so if you want something, go down to the Aura shop. And even if you don't want something, go buy something. Thank you so much for watching. If you want more funky Pokemon projects, then just click whatever's on the screen now. Love y'all, and I'll see you soon with another cool art project. Peace.